Electrocast.
There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, I'm the founder, and my mission is to help ethical entrepreneurs and holistic healers to find their voice through spiritual coaching and podcasting. I'm honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through healing, kindness, innovation, purpose, and spirit. Understanding that to create collective change, we need to be the change. It all begins with us. When chronic back problems threatened to take his passion of surfing away from him forever, Ryan Peebles committed his life to uncovering its root causes and learning how to reverse them. Now, Dr. Ryan helps thousands of back pain sufferers a year to get back to doing what they love without pain. He created a unique movement retraining program called Core Balance Training that is highly successful at reversing back pain through increased core connection. As someone who can resonate with long-term back pain and finding solutions that work, I found Ryan's approach refreshing, and I hope if you're also a sufferer that you get some benefit from this conversation too. Welcome, Ryan, to the Ethical Evolution.
Hello, Bindi. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, we're kind of excited to have you with us today, and you're on vacation at the moment, still making time for us, so thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
For those people who don't know who you are, can you go ahead and tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Ryan Peebles. I'm a doctor of physical therapy by education and licensure, but my personal mission and education is a lot more of a melting pot of different schools of thought, including things like yoga and many different disciplines, including physical therapy. So I don't work as a traditional physical therapist. I'm 100% committed to helping people with lower back pain specifically. And so I have a program that has a bunch of students, and we guide people to, help them get out of back pain.
And so you yourself had a back problem, right? Do you want to give us the backstory on that and how you ended up discovering this?
Yeah, absolutely. So my back problem started when I was a teenager, basketball player in high school, and it kind of sidelined me for a little while. And it spiraled from there. It got progressively worse over the next decade to the point where, I had tried everything that I could possibly think of. I was very committed to whatever I was doing, physical therapy, chiropractic, whatever, and I was still getting worse. So there was a point where I decided to just take it into my own hands and I had already been educating myself. And at that point, I felt like I had enough knowledge that I could probably just make this my profession. So that's what I did. I went to PT school. That helped, a lot. I learned a lot more about the anatomy and biomechanics of the body. And, I just kind of put a bunch of different teachings together. There was a really influential person from Prague, Dr. Vladimir Janda, who influenced me, and his disciples. And so this program is kind of a result of all of that. It's like a salad of different teachings, and that's what helped me get out of pain. And so I just kind of put it in a digestible, program for other people to help them as well.
That's amazing. And, I think one of the things that drew me to you, Ryan, was I also suffer from back pain. And I've been told it's hereditary and, I have scoliosis and all this kind of stuff. But there have been certain things that have worked, and it's not the traditional stuff. There will be so many people listening to this going, my back is killing me too. What do I do, doc? How can I get out of pain? But for those people who are listening, like Ryan, you're a fit, healthy young guy who loves surfing and, is very active. So this can happen to anyone, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, and it can happen at any age. Like for me, I was about 16 years old when my back problem started. And you will hear from people that it's degenerative disc disease is just a natural process of aging. And so my question is why? So does that mean I'm aging faster than everybody? There are other factors other than aging. And so, in a nutshell, this is one of the first things I educate my students about is the cause, and it's related to muscle imbalances, which determine your posture, but it's not really just the way that you hold your body consciously. Muscle imbalances are much deeper than that, and they are influenced by not only your lifestyle and your activity level, but also your mind and stress and stuff like that. We hold tension in our muscles, and so it can happen. This predictable pattern can happen where the teachings of Vladimir Yanda, muscle imbalances do seem to have a pattern. We've got 8 billion people now on the earth, and a good large percentage of them have back pain. And so it is easy to see a pattern, like 80% of them fall into this one type of muscle imbalances. And so, yes, that can happen at any age, no matter how athletic or fit or even, not fit. Like there's people that would be considered very unfit who have no back pain at all. So it's almost interestingly not, fitness level is not a factor. It's not a determinant, at least I can say that.
Yeah, and that's something that I learned as well. In some of the therapy I've done chiropractic, I've done physio, I've done yoga, I've done all sorts. And one of the things that really worked for me was dynamic neuromuscular stabilization physio. That stuff is magic, and hardly anyone knows about it. And it is all to do with your muscles.
Yes, I love that you brought that up. I avoid bringing that up because nobody knows really what it is, and it's actually the teachings of DNS are for healthcare professionals. So they teach in a language that's not really for the average person. I don't think you can even go to the seminars unless you have a license. So you have to, as a normal person, for them to learn DNS, you have to get, you have to find a physical therapist or some other practitioner who has had the teachings. DNS has been a huge influence on core balance training. They model after a lot of what they do is modeled after infant and baby development, as you may know, and that's what we do as well. So yeah, one of the melting pot influences that I was referring to earlier.
So what really works in the program that you developed?
Ooh, big question. So I think that the main thing that students experience is in the first week. We really zoom in on the core. Like we try to, instead of, the program looks at the body and treats the body as a whole, but instead of trying to master how to operate this complex machine, we zoom in on one specific area, the core first. And once we master that, this certain type of engagement, then we start to apply that or integrate that into more complex movements gradually over a 3-month period. And when students start that first week of the just centrally core focused engagement and breathing, they typically feel immediate relief. And that in the first week, we get tons of feedback, like testimonial level feedback, like, oh my gosh, this is giving me relief. And so I think that's the best way I can answer your question. It's a really hard question to answer because we teach a feeling. We don't teach exercises as the solution. That would be the same thing as having any other crutch as a solution. Exercising is good for you, and everybody should do it. And it's like, there's so many benefits to exercise. But in order to, instead of relying on doing an exercise every day of your life to stay out of pain, we teach a way of relating to the body even when you're not doing exercise. So maybe you're doing the dishes, or maybe you're, brushing your teeth, so that it's all of these things that you do in your normal mundane tasks are healthy for your spine, and not such that you have to go to the gym to undo all the damage that you did during the day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and exactly that. I think, and it comes down to awareness and a consciousness, that mind-body awareness. And some people, it takes a lot to develop that, like to be able to isolate a particular muscle in your body, or just to be able to connect with that part of yourself, or be conscious that you're using that part, or maybe not using it as you should. We just are on autopilot so much that we don't understand how we're functioning half the time. And this is a theme I'm getting a lot with a lot of conversations I have lately and I had a joke with a scientist the other day that, these meat suits we've got, we don't know what's going on,
Yeah, it's for sure. One of the central tenets of the program is focus and like tuning into your body. And we try to develop this level of awareness that does require you in the beginning to walk around in your day at the store and wherever you are, and be thinking about your core and your body. And you mentioned one thing I want to kind of go over is you said isolating muscles. And I think that can be a good thing. It can be really beneficial for body awareness and learning. But the body doesn't operate like that naturally, right? The muscles work synergistically. So when I say we zoom in on the core, we're really zooming in on a muscle group, specifically the deep core muscles. And so we don't actually teach the students like muscle names. We don't go like contract your transverse abdominis. Yep. We say, push away from the floor, because that's what the infants and the babies did. Yep. And they developed perfect, healthy core engagement without having to learn the anatomy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And half the time we don't even know what the feelings or the pain we've got, where it's coming from, and how we can naturally relieve it. Like when I was going through that physio, I learnt that my feet were part of the problem and the way that I stood. So your actual gait could have a bearing on how your lower back actually, sits and the pain that you experience.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the biggest problems out there, at least in this country. There is a massive number of people, a huge percentage of people with chronic lower back pain that actually don't know what the problem is or what to do about it. And that, I think, is what you would call suffering, because there's no end in sight. So yeah, it's a huge problem. I do have a question for you. I had the question since the beginning. I know you're interviewing me, but what helped? What's worked for you? I'm always trying to learn. I'm still a student myself. So what helped with your back pain that you had?
Doing this physio was the exercises that they gave me, and was actually learning how to relax those muscles so that they didn't keep pulling me out of alignment. And once I could do that, I had instant relief. So it's just that, I learned the exercises so well, and I practiced them so well that it gave me, instant relief. But consistency, I think, was the big thing.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
is, I would say, the number one factor.
Mm.
Doing the right thing, you gotta, yeah. If that's implied, then consistency is the number one factor. But what muscles in particular were you learning how to relax?
Well, the funny story was, I remember when I went for the first session and I laid on my side, and she could put her arm right underneath my rib cage, like you could see daylight under me. So,
Oh yeah,
that was the first thing we addressed. So what it was I would lie on my side, put my right arm out, and I would focus on. It felt like someone was pulling my little finger, and that I could feel that muscle all the way through the back of my rib cage, and it would then release. It was like a string on a bow. Like it was just you would just feel it let go, and then at the end of that session, my ribs were touching the bench. So that was instant difference. Just the muscles letting go and letting my rib cage open up. Was incredible.
Yep.
Yeah.
That definitely sounds like DNS to me. And that would be, that's stuff that we don't do. Our stuff is all hands off. So that the hands-on stuff of DNS is, does not overlap with the program. But what about your feet? Did you learn, and were you able to change anything about your feet that helped?
Yeah. So I'm very flat-footed. So I don't have much of an arch in my feet, and it was I guess the way I was planting my feet, like I was like it was again being conscious of where the weight distribution was going when I walked and when I stood, and actually using my feet more to balance myself. So my lower back was taking a lot of the weight, whereas my feet weren't actually doing their job. They were just like just flat kind of thing. So it was really posture. It was the way I stood, all of these things, consciousness of that, and then also things like sitting and how you like get off a chair, like what muscles you use to do that. So it's just changing the way your mechanics work a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, that's really awesome. It's great that you found a really good therapist. Sounds like you had a really good therapist. And there's a lot of great PTs in Australia and New Zealand. I think that's anyone that gets a good PT that can actually help with something as complex and misunderstood as chronic lower back pain. You're kind of lucky, I will say, because there's a lot of people that are professionals and still don't really fully get it, don't understand it. I'm still learning myself, so.
I can't count the number of chiropractors I've been to in my life, I can tell you that. But after a while, I was like, I didn't see the point in it, because I just felt like it was I thought it was a bit barbaric, and also you had to keep going all the time. It was like, I keep doing the same thing. I'm not getting a result. Why am I doing this? And so I stopped with the chiropractors because it just wasn't giving me a long-term solution. So, and I know it's one of those things you need to continually do, but I wasn't getting a solution. So for me, I had to change something else. So, and I'm guessing your program helps people with that kind of outcome as well.
Yeah. So we have a lot of students who are, under a chiropractor's care when they start the program. And I've always had the question, like, can I keep doing this? Like, what's the plan here? And so our goal is, yes, sometimes you can become dependent on a chiropractic adjustment every so often, right? Or your body will just go haywire if you don't get it. So the goal and the plan is to kind of wean off of it. I don't say stop abruptly, but, try to put a little more space of time between your appointments than you did last time, and continue that until, a lot of the times they'll get to the point where they just don't feel like they need that adjustment anymore. And I think that should be the goal of chiropractic, right? It shouldn't be a lifetime subscription or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I loved about this physio that I did, was she said to me, I don't actually want to see you. I was like, yeah I don't either.
I love that. because I've had a PT like that too. And it was like, one of the PTs I had back in the day wanted to discharge me, and I was loving it so much I didn't want to go. Like I wanted to keep spending money there, and they're like, "No, you're doing so well. It's time for you to move on." And I'm like, "Wow, that doesn't seem like a shady business practice."
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, what kind of transformation have you seen in people aside from yourself in the program of yours that you run?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this a long time, probably about 6 years now. And so all kinds of stories, overwhelming number of testimonials and happy stories. So I will name a few that I can remember. We had one of our early students in 2019 got 100% out of back pain after dealing with chronic back pain for 26 years.
Wow.
And she was like a fitness instructor, like doing everything. She said she would just foam roll herself till the cows come home, and she spent a lot of money in treatments, and she finally got a hold of it. And so that was one of my first, like, wow, this is helping people. And then just yesterday, I have a special inner circle type thing with students that want more support. And one of the coaching students was telling me about all the functional gains that he's had. So he's like, I played 18 holes of golf today, and my back doesn't hurt. And I had gotten to the point where I was unable to pop up in surfing. Like I couldn't get up on the board. I'm popping up now, and I'm surfing, and I'm able to do these things, and I'm able to get my life back. And he was somewhere in his 60s, probably mid 60s. So I actually asked him if he could share his story for other men in that age group that may have given in, and to maybe not being able to do a lot of things in life anymore. And so just symptoms improvements for people, and functional, like participating in life type improvements as well.
It's incredible how debilitating it can be. And then what it can do to your mindset, and then what you can achieve in your day. It's just like, if you can have that power in your body to be able to do whatever you want to do, like that is just the absolute freedom. Because I can remember when I started before therapy, I was flat out putting my shoes on. There was one day I remember, I think it was the last therapy I had, and I said to her, look at this. And I was sitting there on the chair, and I had my left ankle on my right knee sitting in the chair upright, which I'd never been able to do. And she's like, whoa. And so I could easily put my shoes on, no problem. And I was like, because I had problems with my hips because of the lower back stuff as well. I was just like, wow, I have never done that before.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
just
you got to
simple
celebrate
things.
those little victories too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge to be able to get those functional gains back, and even those things that don't even sound that big, they can be life changing.
Yeah, and in today, we're talking right now, and it is September 2023, and people are sitting a lot, aren't they? Since COVID, people are sitting a lot because a lot of us are still working from home, and we're sitting a lot, and that is a big problem for people with lower back pain, isn't it?
Oh yeah, major. I don't know if it's a coincidence or a causative factor, but the sitting position is the same position that the predictable pattern of muscle imbalances is bringing our body towards. It's actually the fetal position. So it may be coincidental, but it is totally contributing to the problem. And I'll be honest, my opinion is people sat way too much before COVID, but it's just gotten exponentially worse.
Yeah.
And I think unfortunately, we're seeing like an epidemic of back pain, even in like a lot of younger generations too, which is even more sad. So, yep, that's definitely the case.
And yeah, I know for me when I have long work days and I have to sit for hours on end, it's still hard to this day.
Yes.
So I know, and I love that association that you make there. That sitting in a chair is basically the same formation as the fetal position. There's
Yeah.
an underlying message there.
Yeah, well, it's the reason I say coincidence. I might have to explain myself there because this pattern of muscle imbalances is purposely, there is a reason for it, and the body is bringing us into a protective position. It's a protective mechanism, and our protective position in most animals is the fetal position. And so it's where the body feels safest. And if you are deathly ill or extremely injured or whatever, you're going to be towards the fetal position, if not all the way in it. And so when we're under this is how it can relate to stress. We're under chronic, low level types of stress over days, weeks, months, years. Certain muscles are tightening. Like everybody can relate to the upper trap muscles in their shoulders and neck tightening. The hip flexors is another one that tend to tighten. All of these muscles that tighten under stress are bringing us towards a position of protection, protection from the stress that we perceive, even if it's not real. It may have been more useful back in the day when we had our stresses were being chased by animals or, having to, deal with more physical type dangers. But, I say chased by animal. I don't think fetal position is good when you're being chased, but if you're having to protect yourself, from your vital organs, you want to curl up. And so the sitting position is us voluntarily going into the fetal position, and it does definitely tie into all of this, the problem,
So for anyone who's listening to this now, Ryan, and they're like, okay, where do I start? What can I do now? Because I'm in pain and I want to get out of it. What's your first recommendation for them?
Well, I do believe that, I've come to this conclusion recently that the real solution to back pain is education. So my recommendation is to educate yourself, and, don't just take what somebody says for, as truth. It has to make sense to you. So don't even believe what I'm saying. Take what you need from what I'm saying, and take what you believe and leave the rest, and go expose yourself to different types of education. And that's how I got to where I am. And, so if what I'm saying makes sense, we have a lot more out there on YouTube and stuff like that. So that's step one. Other just virtues that I think that would be really valuable would be persistent, be patient, walk a lot. Walk every day, not like it's homework, but because it's your human locomotion design. That's what you are meant to do. And if you're not doing it, you're not being a human. If you have 2 working legs, you should be walking every day, multiple times a day. And get down on the floor. Get comfortable connecting with this floor that is everywhere we go. The ground is a really important biofeedback tool for our bodies, and I don't think people get down on the floor enough. So that's the basic advice that I can give, on a podcast. But if you want to get more into the teachings, then I would start on YouTube, Core Balance, at Core Balance on YouTube.
And that's probably exactly what I would say to someone if they said to me, what did you do? Is I got curious. I knew there was something better out there, and instead of doing the same old thing, I tried something different, and I went to people who knew what they were doing. I actually stumbled upon my end solution through going to a stretching exercise. I went to a yoga instructor who did stretching classes, and so did that, and then they also had a back problem and said, look, I can see you got the same thing I had. Go try this person. And I did. And it was life-changing. So it's just, keep on searching, keep on looking, keep on trying. There is a solution. Now, when we say that, Ryan, there's some people this may not work for, hey?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's all over the board. Humans are messy. And so there's never going to be I really don't think there is any scenario where you can say this always works for everyone.
Yeah.
And so, and I think the 80-20 rule is pretty relevant across the board for a lot of different things in life. And so, somebody might be in the 20% where it's a little more complicated. You don't fall into the pretty little pattern that most people do. And there are also situations where conditions might be too far gone, and surgery it would actually be the best option for some people. And so there is no like cookie cutter solution. We are, our approach is to model after the way humans developed naturally. And we're just like, look at a baby, see how they developed. Let's try to do it that way, because we know at least that was the way it was meant to be. And so, that's the way I look at things anyway.
Yeah, growing up, we start to mess things up, don't we, hey?
Yeah, I think by the age of 4, you have perfect posture and movement, and then after that, it's all kind of downhill from there.
Yeah, in so many ways. Now, Ryan, if people want to find out more about you and get in touch, where can they go?
Yeah, so I already kind of mentioned YouTube. I think that's a good starting point because I just educate on so many different topics related to back pain. That's at Core Balance on YouTube, or Core Balance Training if you just search it. But if you want to cut to the most, cut through all the and get to like the most valuable thing, I would suggest people watch this 15-minute masterclass that I made, which really dives deep into what I believe to be the root cause of most chronic lower back pain conditions, and it just kind of dives into muscle imbalances. So they can find that at corebalancetraining.com/masterclass. It's also on YouTube as well, so you can find it there.
Perfect. Now, Ryan, I got the last big question for you. What's the change you'd like to see in the world, and how can we bring it to life?
Ooh, that is such a big question. I think that there are so many problems around the world that could be reduced if people practiced daily gratitude. And so as a human cultural revolution, I would want everyone to practice gratitude on a daily basis.
Puts everything into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ryan, I have loved every minute with you, and I hope other people get relief from their back pain after listening to you today. Thank you so much for being a part of the Ethical Evolution.
Thank you so much, Bindi. It has been a wonderful time.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're ready to be the change and would love to work with me on finding your voice through spiritual coaching or creating your own podcast with impact, visit ethicalchangeagency.com.
Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wanna Bet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wanna Bet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast.
Welcome to Tuning Into Sound Wellbeing, where we harmonise your mind, body and soul. I'm Amanda, your sound therapy expert.
And I'm Stephen, the curious explorer uncovering the mysteries of sound.
Together we explore vibrations, frequencies, and the power of sound therapy and tuning forks.
Discover ancient wisdom, reduce stress, and tune into a healthier life. Subscribe to Tuning Into Sound Wellbeing today.
Electricast.